Welcome to the Millionaires mini-series with your hosts Stephanie Keith and Stacy Failing, here to set you up with the most luxurious version of yourself. This podcast is filled with wealthy women vibes and a sneak peek into the millionaire's lifestyle. Whether you're in our millionaire's dreams of taking private jets to deserted islands or you prefer the lighter side of luxury, we have an opportunity for you that is priceless.
Come join us as we share with you all of our juicy money secrets, mindset hacks, and so much more. Money may not buy happiness, but it can provide you with an abundant life beyond your wildest dreams. So turn up the volume, adjust your crown, and get ready to embrace your inner millionairess. Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. We have an exciting episode for you today that I think you're really going to resonate with, especially if you identify as a woman. We're going to be talking about the cycles. But before we dig into today's episode, we have been highlighting so many things that have been resonating with women right now in their space, in their business. And so I just want to talk about really quick an opportunity for you to get in touch with your feminine side, to connect with other like-minded women, which is so helpful when you're trying to manifest and just having that power in numbers. But we have a Millionaire's Masterclass for you that is always going. So there is no expiration date for you to sign up. It's 90% off right now. And when you get in, you have access to all of the recordings that has happened inside of our mastermind group, which has so much content in it. And again, you will be able to connect with those women that you are seeing inside of there. And so you really do feel a part of the Millionaire's family. And you will have the content over 6 weeks. And we lay out this framework for you, so it's absolutely clear on how to set yourself up to manifest the life of your dreams, whatever that looks like for you. And you also have access to us to be able to reach out and ask questions if you have those. And so you're really just, as soon as you get started, when you sign up, you have access to all of that. You have access to the group. You're able to start your whole manifesting process with ease. So we hope to see you inside of that. Everything that you'll need is in the show notes. And like I said, it's just something that has really helped all the women that we have been able to connect with. And this framework just is beautifully laid out. And it's everything that Steph and I have used to manifest what we have today. And so we just want to share it with you because it works. And when we found out that this was so, what's the word, Steph? Help me out. It's just so,
It's transformational with not only like your money mindset and beliefs, but just your confidence and your entire life, because what you're basically doing is upgrading your identity to this version of yourself that is a millionaire. She's confident. She has limitless income. And we talk about all of the energetics behind that. And the thing is, like, the energy has to come first. Everyone's always thinking, it's the action and the hard work that gets the results. But what a lot of people miss is you have to have that energetic component behind the action, or you're never going to take the action. And so we find that when people go through this, they uncover a lot. A lot of people will figure out finally what it is they really want. We've had people start businesses, start podcasts, like all of these things that they never in a million years would have even thought was possible, but they get behind because they have that energetic component. So that's really what it allows you to do. And it just sets you on the path that you're destined for. That's the way that I look at it. So I think now is the best time to get in because we're offering it for 90% off. And so far, we've been getting amazing results. So I don't think you can really go wrong at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for helping me out. Words are hard sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah, and that kind of segues us into today's episode with the whole energy component, because we talk about this all the time and how, manifesting comes from our high vibe energy. And when you are functioning at those lower vibrations, it just makes it more difficult to manifest. And so part of that energy is paying attention to your feminine energy, which ties into, if you're still menstruating, your feminine cycle. But then that also, if you notice, and this is something we'll talk about in today's episode, like if you pay attention to how your menstrual cycle follows the lunar cycle, you can really tap into your energy and notice. And one of the things that you can do to kind of keep track of that is just kind of journal like your moods and how they ebb and flow throughout your feminine cycle, but also along with the moon phase. And it really just comes back to that energy component.
Yeah. So, what I've noticed in teaching people about manifestation is we so have it backwards. And I really want to clarify this because I think there's this misconception out there that you have to be high vibe all the time. And when you're in this high vibe state, like that's when you're manifesting and that's just how it is. And then everything's great and everything's perfect and you're never sad ever again.
Yeah.
And that's just so, not life. It's not the human experience. Unfortunately, we experience the highs and the lows. And truly everything within nature, including us, is a cycle. So within manifestation, when you have those peaks, right? And like you're feeling on top of the world and you're feeling like you could do anything and you take action and everything just feels so easy. And a lot of people think that, okay, when I'm feeling like that, that is when I'm going to use all these manifestation tools. Okay. Which is great. Like there's nothing wrong with that. But then what happens is like everything that goes up must come down, like everything cycles. And so eventually you're going to come down from that peak and you're going to find yourself in a lower vibration. You're going to be maybe really tired or self conscious or second guessing. And I noticed that it's in this phase where everyone starts doubting their goals, their just manifestation in general. Like, should I even be doing this? This doesn't work. What am I thinking? And you get really hard on yourself and you beat yourself up and you tell yourself, oh my gosh, I'm so lazy. I should be doing more. I should be taking more action. When in reality, this is the phase where you really need to just go inward and take care of yourself, tune into what you're really needing at the moment, which sometimes it is being lazy. Sometimes it literally is like taking a nap. And it's in this phase where manifestation, the hard work really begins, because this is where you use those tools like journaling, subliminals, meditation to get yourself out of that slump and back into that high vibrational space. But what I see happening is people will be using all the tools when they're in that high vibe space, but then as soon as they come down from that and they're in the low vibe space, they give up on anything and they don't use any of the tools and they just say that it doesn't work. But that is where you're truly tested. And if you just know that on the other side of that, you're going to come back up and you're going to manifest some really big things, and you just stick with it and keep using the tools and doing the practices, on the other side of that is when you have the biggest breakthroughs. But far too many people give up like right before they're about to succeed with something really big that they want to manifest. Do you see that with yourself, Stacey, or just like with clients you've worked with?
Yeah, absolutely. And especially, like I said, as women, we go through these natural cycles anyways, but I think we do a poor job of tuning into those cycles and we beat ourselves up for the days. Since I've learned more about this, I've started to pay more attention to it. And I will notice that, as the week before I'm about to menstruate, it's just, I am so moody. I am not feeling things. And so this is a time where I need to just have patience and just kind of reflect and do, some of the less actionable things and just start to tune in and just understand that I've done the work and that it is happening. And then, when that week that I am menstruating, I have lower energy. There's days where I will feel bad because I don't want to work out, or like you said, I'll just feel tired. And we can't force that against how our body is just meant to cycle naturally. And I think we do because we feel guilty for, taking that rest time. But really, that is going to help cultivate manifesting in the abundance so much easier because you are in tune. And when you get out of alignment with yourself is when manifesting becomes difficult. But then when you're feeling that peak, like Steph said, after everything has happened and you're back to a new cycle and you're feeling high vibe again, then that's when you pour in all that energy because it feels good. I have tried to force that good energy on a low state and it just doesn't work. It feels yucky. I get discouraged. I get frustrated. And it's because I'm not doing what my body is naturally telling me that I need to do. So I just think if you can be more in tune, and things like tapping really helps with that when you're in that low vibe state, to just keep reminding your subconscious that, hey, we're working towards this goal. I know we're not in this high vibe state, but I'm going to tap myself back into my intuition and allow myself to take care of myself the way that my body is asking of me to take care of myself, and then trusting that the cycle's going to continue and we'll come up out of that funk and we'll be right back at it again. But continuing those practices is going to be crucial, and really paying attention to the practices that you need in the stage of the cycle that you're in.
Yeah. And I think you make such a good point that it's very different taking inspired action versus forced action. And unfortunately, like our society is set up in a way where we're taught that you should just be taking action all the time. And it's set up that way because, men, what we go through in an entire month with like our menstrual cycles and our energy is what men go through in a 24-hour period. So like they could take very like high level action every single day. Women, it will lead to burnout and straight up misery, because I was in it for 12
Mhm.
years where I had to do that forced action all the time. But when you start becoming really mindful of your energy and you take action when you're at that peak point and you're feeling really inspired, you can move mountains. You can get something done in one day that normally would take a month. So it really is kind of tapping in to yourself and how you're feeling. And that includes your energy, your emotions, your physical body, and really being mindful. And I know, like, you've probably heard people talk before about how your menstrual cycles can correlate to like your workflow and what types of things that you should be working on and doing throughout the month. And so if you look at like the menstrual phase, that's like the detox, the shedding, the letting go. And that's very similar to like the full moon, for example, where you want to let go of anything that's coming to the surface that's no longer serving you, that you don't need anymore. So that's where like emotions can be peaking. You can be feeling all over the place. You can be feeling angry or sad or whatever's coming up. And that's a really good time to just reflect and decide, like, what do I want to let go of? What do I want to keep? What boundaries do I want to set in my life? So it's very much like an emotional, um, you know, mental health aspect that you want to focus on in your life and in your business or in your work. The next phase is the follicular phase, which is also known as the productivity phase. So this is where you're going to feel like you could take a lot of action and be really productive. So maybe it's like you need to work on your website or write a bunch of emails or do things like that. And it just feels so much easier than normal. It doesn't feel forced, and you can just knock out a bunch of things at one time. Then after that, you have where you're ovulating and you're feeling really magnetic. So this is where you're going to feel like very outgoing, and you can take that inspired action that involves putting yourself out there, whether that's doing videos, podcasts, networking, working with other people. That's where you're going to feel like you can knock all of that stuff out and get a lot of that done. And it's going to feel fun and it's going to feel easy, where other parts of the month, it might feel really scary and hard. And then last is the luteal phase. And so that's like the nurture and rest phase. That's where you really do need to make sure you're taking care of yourself, you're slowing down, you're taking breaks and resting when you need. But that's also a really good time for planning what's coming next in your business or your career. Um, and, you can do that in your bed on your laptop. Like I do that all the time. And that's where maybe you don't want to do video content and things like that. So this has completely changed the game for me in my business, because instead of beating myself up and thinking, oh my gosh, I'm so lazy, like I haven't recorded any videos this week and I'm so self-conscious and why am I not doing more, and feeling like I have to force it, I'm just like, oh, okay, like I'm in that phase and I know I'm going to come out of it. And on the other side of this, I'm going to pump out like videos for the whole month so I don't have to worry about it. And it's completely taken that pressure off of myself. And I've been so much kinder to myself. And I've also been a lot more intuitive because it's in those moments of rest or fun or play where my best ideas come through. Have you seen that, Stacey, with yourself?
Yeah. And I was just going to say, I love the point that you made about, paying attention to the moon cycle in comparison to your own cycle, because I don't really journal out. I don't really have to, because the moon cycles kind of keep me in track. So I know, and I know it's so cliche, but this is just how my cycle has lined up, that at the peak of a full moon it's for me. So I just know when that's coming, how I can tune into that. So, and that's where I'm feeling so inspired. And so I absolutely enjoy doing the moon rituals and, doing things that put myself in that energy, but then to also enhance that energy when I'm feeling it. So yes, when you can pay attention to that, you can really find ways, and like, I think hacks, where you can use your own natural cycle in your energy to boost up that energy that's already there and be super productive. But then also, like you said, just paying attention to those rest times too, and not being so hard on yourself and using that time as that planning time. I absolutely loved what you said about that, because it doesn't always have to be action. It can just be creative energy. It could be at a lower point, but it doesn't mean that you have to, feel overwhelmed and that you have to max out 24/7, because you do get burnt out. And I think, that just kind of goes into the masculine versus feminine. And we live in a very masculine society, and women, like yourself, Steph, that was in corporate, that worked with mostly men, we're kind of forced to become that masculine energy all the time. And that's what we feel like we have to do to keep up with society's expectations and everything. And I just think that we've gotten so far away from tuning into our own natural cycles because of this masculine energy that we're in. It's kind of one of those things where you just have to get back into being intuitive with yourself and just paying attention to those cycles. And, if that means that you have to do those different practices to get yourself back into it, so be it. But just being aware that you might be in a more masculine, energetic state, rather than that feminine, is going to help you just start to get back into being able to manifest naturally. And it's not going to feel so forced, and you're going to allow those ebbs and flows to happen without the resistance that you might feel if you were trying to force that masculine energy, the do, the how, asking ourselves all those things, beating ourselves up all the time. But it really just is a shift that we have to embrace, because we're so used to just being in that masculine all the time. But I think just paying attention to those natural cycles in nature and in ourselves, that when they align and what we're able to do with it, can be a game changer in getting us away from the how and the doing all the time.
Yeah, I had an interview a couple years ago with a woman named Vanessa Venninger. She was talking about women's circles, and we were talking about like the full moon and like different rituals that we do. And I know you're really into that stuff too, Stacey. Um, and she brought up that when you look at ancient civilizations, women's circles were commonplace, and it was just very accepted and known that women go through these cycles. And it was like honored, because women would get together during those times and bring their collective energy together and tap into the divine feminine. And through the divine feminine, you're very connected to your intuition, to source. And that's where a lot of wisdom would come through, and things that would help the entire, civilization or tribe. And nowadays, like in our society now, it's like a lot of these things are looked at in a negative way. And so we, I don't know about you, Stacey, but I have always felt kind of alone when I'm in those times, because we're not supposed to really talk about it, or bring it up and nobody really understands. And the corporate world sure as hell like
Hmm.
is not on board with, your energy or emotions or anything like that. But it really is powerful when instead of just getting down on yourself and beating up on yourself during those times, if instead okay, this is my time to slow down and go inward so that I can tap into that divine feminine and I can tap into my intuition. And from that, that is where you make leaps and bounds. That is where you get these brilliant bits of wisdom that come through that can completely change the game for you. So, just remember that the next time you're feeling down and you're beating up on yourself and you're thinking, I'm so lazy or I should be doing more or like why am I even doing this? And you start doubting everything, just stop yourself and remind yourself, you know what? Maybe this is my phase where I just need to slow down and maybe I need to like journal and or like meditate and just see what comes through. Like what is my body telling me? You know, what am I feeling I really want to do right now? And maybe it's just like put your laptop down and go for a walk outside or take a nap. Do that. Like just do it and try it. And I'm telling you, it changes everything. And on the other side of that, if you could truly honor that space that you're in and tune into what you really need, on the other side of that are major, major up levels and breakthroughs.
Hmm. Yeah. And I just think, women are naturally so emotional, and we have forced ourselves into being somebody that we're not because of the way that society has raised us. And it is something that is might be foreign to you to be like, tap into my feelings. What do you mean? And it really isn't a difficult thing. It's just something that you have to bring awareness to. You just have to start paying attention to how you feel. For me, it's kind of started with my social circle, and I just felt this drain of energy around certain people, and I started to question, like, what is this? Before I knew anything about the energetics and feminine energy and all the things. But and I'm sure you've noticed this too, is you just are in certain situations. Maybe it's your work environment, it's your social circle, maybe it's a task that you just hate doing and you just feel yucky. Those are the types of things that we're talking about that you just need to pay attention to. And also on the flip side of that, what are the things that light you up? What are the things that you could just immerse yourself in and spend hours doing and not even paying attention to what's going on? And those are the things. And when we say, tap into your energy is and how you're feeling, is literally just paying attention to your emotions throughout the day and what you're going through. And then, compound that into a full cycle and just bring awareness. That's the best place to start. And Steph, I wanted to touch on another thing that you said. And I think this is where we have found so much success in our mastermind group, is because we do feel so alone. We are isolated and we can't really talk about these things. But when you bring a group of women together in that space that are wanting to up level simultaneously, you get that energy. And then you see it kind of popcorns off of one another. It's super cool to see happening, but then the shift is just intense. And then that's where they have these results that are just, it seems like sometimes overnight they get these amazing results because they were finally able to come together, share that energy, tap into their own energy and go, oh my gosh, I feel so inspired. Now I can do the things. You feel empowered when you're in that group with these women. And so I just love that point about the women's circles. And that's pretty much what we've created with our community. And it works just because of our own natural abilities. And when we come together, there's magic that happens there. Don't you agree?
Yeah, that is why I love doing masterminds and why we set up our courses the way that we do, because you're powerful individually, but when you can combine that energy with other women who are up leveling their life and who are in that same energy, crazy stuff happens. I mean, like miracles. I just feel like in my own life, I've seen it so many times. And now in every single mastermind we've done, we've seen it where you just grow so fast and things, it's like it multiplies because you have all of this energy behind it and you have people to pick you up in those times where you're feeling a little bit low. And then you have people to cheer you on in the times when you are feeling really inspired and taking action. So I definitely recommend, if no one has ever done that before, to try it. Put yourself in these scenarios where you're around other people that are dedicated to working on themselves energetically and working on their mindset, and you will grow. Like, you will grow collectively, and it's just such a remarkable thing to watch, and I think it's just a fast track for manifestation. I really do.
Yeah, I
So
agree.
one other thing before we go that I wanted to mention is Stacy and I have a free subliminal, and I call it the Lucky Girl Subliminal, but it's really about knowing that everything is always working out for you. And I feel like that is a big game changer in helping you energetically up level. So when we talk about using these tools, when you're in those spaces where you're feeling low, you don't have a lot of energy, subliminals are like my favorite tool to use because you literally don't have to do anything other than press play. So when you're in those dips, those low vibrations, that's what I recommend. Just hit play on the subliminal. You don't have to do anything with it, and it's going to help. So we will send that to you free, and then also send a 5-day manifestation journal with that. And this is going to really help you start to get mindful and intentional about what's going on instead of just going through life on autopilot. So we will link that up in the show notes. You can also find it by going to our Instagram page. And again, when you're in those low points and you're like, okay, what do you mean about manifestation tools? What should I do? This is exactly what you should do. And it's so easy and it feels good, and it will help get you back up into that higher vibrational inspiration place. All right. Well, I will link everything for you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you back here next time.